Hello and welcome to Picture Class, Episode 3. Oh. Sorry, I thought we were going to do Dial-In for Murder. Welcome to Picture Class, Episode 3, Notorious, Alfred Hitchcock's Notorious. Before we get started today, I'd like to give a very big shout out to our editor, Mr. Jim Cook. Take a bow. Also, since this movie's in black and white, maybe I should be in black and white. Anyway, the movie we are talking about is Alfred Hitchcock's masterpiece, Notorious, from 1946. It has a 96% on Rotten Tomatoes, 91% of the audiences agree, 8.0 on the Internet Movie Database. It is currently available for free on Tubi. The film has had a very interesting release history. I honestly don't know who owns the rights. It's rarely available for streaming, so I highly recommend that you check this movie out as soon as possible before it just disappears, and then you have to find the disc. And so some people are like, what's a disc? A Blu-ray? Oh. This movie stars Ingrid Bergman, Cary Grant, and Claude Rains. It is the second of 3 collaborations that she had with Alfred Hitchcock, the other being Spellbound, and then after that she would do Under Capricorn. With Cary Grant, this would be his second out of 4 films with the Master of Suspense. First beginning with Suspicion, continuing with Notorious, then To Catch a Thief, and then North by Northwest in 1959. And then, of course, I think this is his one and only film with Claude Rains, and Claude Rains, so good in this movie, just great. Ingrid Bergman and Claude Rains are in the same film, Casablanca, a few years prior. So when I initially was just looking up movies on Amazon based their algorithm years and years ago, this movie kept popping up with Ingrid Bergman and the teacup, and she's just kind of looking. I'm like, that's kind of a cool cover. I wonder what this movie's about. The movie's title, also, if this seems familiar, it was a movie in 2009 about the rapper, but this has no relation to that. So that was not a remake. Obviously, this movie was remade in 2000 as Mission Impossible 2. Yes, watch the movie. Same exact plot. I mean, not so much motorcycle action, and Cary Grant's not jumping off of cliffs and doing stuff and throwing sunglasses and they're exploding and people aren't taking their faces off every 5 seconds, but, you know, it's not even close. So we have our MacGuffin in this movie is uranium. We will get to what a MacGuffin is in just a second. Another thing I want to mention is Ben Hecht did the screenplay. Ben Hecht and Alfred Hitchcock and Ingrid Bergman were all part of a package deal that David O. Selznick sold to RKO to help raise some more money to a film that was losing money at the time. David O. Selznick, of course, did Gone with the Wind in 1939, which he won Best Picture for because he was the producer. He actually got the Oscar. I did a little test here. I found out that Edith Head did the costumes. I knew Edith Head did a lot for Paramount because I used to think she was under contract for Paramount, but she worked with Alfred Hitchcock here, and she did Ingrid Bergman's gorgeous wardrobe, and they just stand out. If you watch the film, you're like, damn, those are some nice dresses.
Notorious! 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 She was a notorious woman of many desires. He was an adventurous man of purpose. Their secret love swept them on to the brink of disaster.
She won 8 out of her 35 nominations, 8 Oscars, so she is the most awarded winner of Oscars as a woman, and if you search that in Google, Katharine Hepburn will show up. So obviously they don't really care when it comes to anything but the big 5. A lot of times people don't even acknowledge them. This has the classic Hitchcock tropes, including the overbearing mother. Woo! She's crazy. And he has the blonde, of course. If you notice, I have a Where's Waldo tie. So if you ever looked up the Where's Waldo, it's kind of like Where's Hitchcock? Hitchcock also makes appearances in this film. He makes a very late appearance in this film, depending on what region or what format you're watching it in. Somewhere between an hour and 4 minutes. He shows up at a party and he does this and he walks away. Hitchcock later would move his cameos earlier and earlier to the film because he felt his presence would distract people who would always be looking, where is he? And some of his cameos are quite clever when the movies are in very confined spaces, but he still manages to get in there, whether it's a photograph, a newspaper, or in case of Rope, a neon sign in the backdrop. Check it out. So, I have here key, wine, and cup. What the heck does that mean? Well, we're going to learn our first term in this class. It's called a MacGuffin. A MacGuffin is a plot device that motivates the characters and advances the story, but has little other relevance to the story of itself. What the fuck does that mean? Have you seen any of the Avengers movies?
Yes.
What would you call the Infinity Stones? MacGuffins. Another perfect example, or maybe the best example I could give to anyone, is the 2000 movie Snatch. The diamond is one of the best MacGuffins ever. The diamond has nothing to do with the movie, yet it brings all these characters together. Now, the term MacGuffin, so Hitchcock says, and I quote, "It might be a Scottish name taken from the story of two men on a train. One says, 'What's the package up there in the baggage rack?' And the other says, 'Oh, that's a MacGuffin.' The first one asks, 'What's a MacGuffin?' Well, the other man says, 'It's an apparatus for trapping lions in the Scottish Highlands.' The first man says, 'But there are no lions in the Scottish Highlands.' And the other answers, 'Well, then that's it. There is no MacGuffin.' So you see, there's no MacGuffin at all. So what's the point of it? Well, it's an object or an idea that drives the movie forward. This movie is a film noir, which a lot of people will say is a genre, other people will say is a style. I'm in the camp that it's a style because what the hell is a film noir? It literally means, noir means black in French film, so it's a black film, meaning dark, and it was a term coined by a French critic who noticed that a lot of these movies were all kind of dark and had very similar themes, and he dubbed it film noir. Most of the people making the films didn't think they were making film noir, and a lot of the film noirs are B pictures. They were the cheaper films that shown in front of the A pictures. So the A pictures were generally in color with a little more famous actors, and the B picture would show up first, and it would be gritty, thrillers that you could shoot, and the lighting a lot of times was just to hide the fact that they didn't have any money. So as a result, they kind of stumbled into something awesome. Film noir, the classic period tends to be started, their theory is 1941 with The Maltese Falcon, another MacGuffin, up to 1958's Touch of Evil. There is neo-noir and noir from other countries. The reason why I say film noir is a style because of the movie The Big Lebowski. If you're scratching your head right now, what? The Big Lebowski? Noir? Yes, watch the movie Murder, My Sweet, and right after it, watch The Big Lebowski. Tell me you haven't just watched a comedy film noir.
Yeah, well, that's just like your opinion, man.
And the other thing I have here is a rip-off / homage. If you hate the movie, it's clearly a ripoff. If you love the movie, it's clearly an homage. So Mission Impossible 2 could have been a loving homage to Notorious. Or if you really hated the movie, it just ripped off Notorious. Depends on your feelings about Mission Impossible 2. Not here to talk about that. It was also, I'm going to say homage, because I thought this was very good, very well done. In Star Wars Clone Wars Season 2 episode, I think it was the fourth one, something Senate, Padme plays the Ingrid Bergman role, and Anakin, I don't know what Anakin plays. He just plays Anakin, just jealous, angry, always jealous and angry. He's either happy or jealous and angry. But after I watched the episode and how they really were influenced and homaged Hitchcock, I was like, I liked it. I thought it was very, 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 very well done. Film noir is often noted for its voiceovers, the high contrast lighting. It's like sometimes in a city, and the crime element. It's very influenced by German Expressionism. It's very post-World War II because a lot of soldiers were coming back and women had been integrated into the workforce and they were insecure, so the rise of the femme fatale, the dangerous woman who had ulterior motives, very famous film noir trope. I have the National Film Registry on here because the movie Notorious was added because it is culturally, historically, or aesthetically significant. The National Film Registry was introduced in 1988 due to Martin Scorsese and Frank Capra urging Congress to preserve some of the films to prevent people like Ted Turner from colorizing them. And as another thing, it is a very big part of our American culture, so there's a lot of different films, not limited to feature films. There's also avant-garde, news clips. Check out the National Film Registry. Kind of interesting. What do I like about this film? Well, first of all, it is a spy thriller romance. Yep, spy thriller romance by Alfred Hitchcock, who's not really known for his romantic movies. One of the things that makes this film great is Ingrid Bergman and Cary Grant. Cary Grant is this almost ominous, stoic guy, and you're like, what's his deal? And you see he's holding back, and Ingrid Bergman's being so vulnerable with him. And the movie starts with her father being arrested for war crimes, and then she comes out of the courtroom, and she immediately starts drinking. And we're introduced to Cary Grant like this. Just a shadow, and you see Ingrid Bergman here. She's going to be Ingrid Bergman for now. And she, Snorlax. She could be a she. She's here, and, she's talking to him. It takes us a few minutes before we even see Cary Grant. Alfred Hitchcock was also very good at introducing the big stars of the movies. And I think Cary Grant was the bigger star at this point, but this is Ingrid Bergman's movie. Another thing that's really cool is how Alfred Hitchcock really fought with the censors. If you watch old Hollywood movies, one thing you'll notice, we're gonna have to use Snorlax again, Snorri, is the Hollywood kiss. They'd be like, and it always looks awful, it looks bad. I think they do it, but they do it. They do have that kiss in here.
This is a very strange love affair.
Why?
Maybe the fact that you don't love me.
When I don't love you, I'll let you know.
You haven't said anything.
Actions speak louder than words.
But there was another scene where they exchanged a lot of small kisses for about 2 to 3 minutes. And the kisses never last longer than 2 seconds. So the ratings board was like, well, they're kissing. He's like, kiss, stop, kiss, stop, kiss, stop. So he kind of just did it to piss them off, but it happens to be so much more interesting. And one of the things about the Hays Code, which was the code that would allow the movies to be released to prevent the government from editing the movies. So it was a self-imposed code in order to prevent the government from stepping in, much like the UK and some other countries actually do have that right. That you couldn't, a man always had to have one, or someone, if they're on a bed, they had to have the separate beds, which you always want to know, why were there separate beds? They couldn't talk about sex. They couldn't, they had to imply it, and they dance around it so well in this movie. One of the lines I really like is, "You can add Sebastian to my list of playmates." Ingrid Bergman's and Cary Grant play like a romantic chicken. Like, do they love each other or do they not love each other? And they keep escalating as she gets deeper and deeper, because she marries Claude Rains at some point in order to help the American government get knowledge on the uranium ore. And, you could see it's killing Cary Grant, but he's not showing it. He shows it to his boss, and like the actors, the emotions in this, it just shows you that sometimes holding on characters can tell you a lot more than cutting. Cut. It's one of the things that, maybe I don't like as much about modern films is they don't hold on things for longer than maybe 10 seconds, or maybe it's even 5 seconds. And here you have a lot of time to just stay. When the camera's not cutting, you feel more involved. Another thing is, it's good for the actors, is the actors get to show little nuances. There's a scene I shared with when she had the key. I had the key before. I had a key. Hold on, I'm gonna get the key. I'm gonna get the key. Where's that? She has a key. So, also, Timberford Tower, check it out. On podcast. Sure, you're just gonna cut this out, Jim, so, yeah. So we can just pretend like I pulled it out here, right? So another big element from this film is the key. The great shot is when she takes the key off of there, and then Claude Rains comes out. You focus on his hands, and you're like, oh shit. And then she has to switch it, and then do the thing behind the back, and then she kicks it off to the side. So the key becomes this important element. The next shot, we have the party, and we have a crane shot all the way down, and we focus on the key. Is it exorbitant? Maybe, but this is just a gorgeous shot that just shows you this key, this tiny key, could just unravel everything. And very visual movie. You'll see the key has a lot of influence. And then when Ingrid Bergman and Cary Grant go down to the wine cellar, you know, they break one of the bottles and then they quickly fix it, right? They quickly put another uranium ore into another bottle and they put it up. What makes this so great is two things. They get caught by Claude Rains, who finds them making out, and he's just like, ooh, you know she's in deep shit, but at the same time, he's like, I'd rather you think that than think this. So they think everything's going good. And then Claude Rains goes down to the cellar and realizes the key's missing. And then he goes up. Then the next morning, he finds the key is there. So basically, visually, we see how Claude Rains puts the pieces together. It doesn't need to be overtly said. And then he takes the key, he goes downstairs, and he's just like, okay. But then he sees some liquid in the sink because they poured out the wine bottle. Uh-oh. He goes to the wine cellar, he goes to the rack. He sees 1934, 1934, 1934, 1940. Oh, fuck. That shouldn't be there. He looks down, he sees some residue on the ground, he finds a bottle, it shows 1934. He sees the cap from the 1940 bottle has been broken. So now he has just realized what the two of them were doing down there. Now he realizes he's married to an American agent. And he goes upstairs and he's just like, fuck. Because earlier in the movie, you see his friends, the other members of this group, and one of them reacts very strongly when he sees a wine bottle. He thinks that that wine bottle is the wrong wine bottle for the guests. Due to that guy's overreacting, he is killed off screen because by the head guy, and Sebastian, or Claude Rains, knows, okay, if he killed that guy for overreacting, he's gonna kill me for being married to an American agent. So he tells his mother, and his mother has like this almost orgasmic reaction. She goes for a cigarette with a smile on her face after she figures that she knows she's right. And she's like, all right, we can't kill her, but we can kill her slowly. So the whole plot the point from here becomes the cup. And they start poisoning her very slowly in order to kill her, because you can't just, you know, kill her because that would be arouse suspicion. So they're gonna kill her very slowly. And then as a result, Cary Grant's wondering why she's missing their appointments to talk about stuff, you know, what's going on. And then eventually he just shows up to the house. Shows up to the house, right? Clearly, you're like, if there's spot, they just show up to the house, but it's a movie. You have to remember it's a movie. And he goes upstairs, just goes upstairs, and he sees her. And probably the best part of this movie is he literally just goes into the house and he grabs her and then he starts walking out. The mother and Alexander Sebastian are like, what the fuck you doing? And then he's just like, well, do you want to make a scene in front of your friends? So they're slowly going down the stairs, and this is so tense. Clone Wars did this very well too. It was a little more condensed, but I was like, okay, Clone Wars. I was pretty proud. Each step they're going down, you're cutting between the mother, Cary Grant, Ingrid Bergman, Claude Rains, they're going down, and you're just like, what the fuck is gonna happen? Each step is like, it's up to you. And the mother's like, help him. And he's just so angry because clearly the woman he loves is with this other guy walking right out the front fucking door. But if he makes a scene, he's dead. And then he realizes quickly that he starts to help her. And then they take it to the car. So he's hoping to go to the hospital with them, right? Well, get in the car. Boom, Cary Grant locks the door. Claude Rains is like, no, you gotta take me with me. They're gonna kill you. And then you see one of the other guys talk to the other guys over there. There is no phone in the room. How could they called the hospital? Uh-oh. They know. He knows. They drive away, but are they really going to have a happy life? They're kind of two messed up people. Kind of a very odd relationship. It's just like a constant one-upsmanship, but do they last? In the romantic sense, you want to hope they do, but they drive off. You don't follow, the camera doesn't follow them. they have the shot where he turns around and he walks right up the stairs into the house knowingly to his death. Clone Wars also does this, so I thought that is why it was a brilliant homage. I'm kind of forgetting which side of the board I'm on now. But see the key, it's staring at it. It's a MacGuffin. So clearly the wine ore didn't have too much to do with the movie, but it drove the movie forward. So that was so much of what I liked about the movie. It clearly kind of just described the plot of it, which we can cut out, maybe not, I don't know, but this movie is just really, really beautifully made. It's probably my favorite Hitchcock. I can say that very easily. A lot of times I don't watch it for a long time, so when I try to do top 10s, it's kind of like, what have I seen recently? And unfortunately, I struggle so much with it because it depends when you watch a movie and what you're feeling at the time. So it's like favorite films. These are 10 films I can watch because I think it's ever changing. If you have the same favorite film for all time, that's really cool. I don't know. Is a problem with commitment to movies? Do I have a commitment problem? You know, is Blade Runner gonna be like, so you're watching Blood now? Or, you know, if I like Notorious better one day and then Psycho better next, do they get jealous? No, maybe they do, I don't know. Movies have a life unto their own. But that is Notorious from 1946. God, that was a lot of talking, but as you can see, I really, really like this movie. It is so beautifully shot, so beautifully made. I've said that like 3 times now. But what do you think of this movie? Comment right below. Give us a like if you like this movie. You could give a dislike. I'm not gonna stop you from making your own decisions because, you know, you do what's best for you.
Produced by Alfred Hitchcock, master of suspense. For tense dramatic impact,
See Notorious, starring Cary Grant, Ingrid Bergman, and a story of danger and bold intrigue.
see Notorious.
Give us a subscribe and give us a follow on Instagram, Quality Attempted. If you want to suggest a movie that's on Tubi or some other formats, qualityattempted@gmail.com. I've been Julian. I'm exhausted. You've been great. And I guess I'll see you next week where we'll cover another movie. I'm thinking of something interesting, but it might be on a different service. So we're going to see how the week goes. But thank you so much, and have a great week, everybody.